On this week's FAS TV, we're with Lawrence Martin, where he gives us a step-by-step demonstration in applying ClipFitter clips, along with discussing the benefits to animal welfare and improved efficiency on farm. And we hear from Kirsten Williams from SAC Consulting, along with farmer Jonny Stewart of Rashenlochy Farm, Banchory, to hear the results of an innovative forage crops project through Monitor Farm Scotland.
My name's Lawrence Martin. I'm here as a contractor for the team here at one of the SAC farms at Castration. Here today we are supporting the team with the castration of their lambs after using the ClipFitter clips on the early lambers at sort of a couple of days old. They saw the benefits of using them and just asked me to come along and give them a bit of support using them in some of their older hill lambs. And the results seem to be really positive. So the lambs that are behind me just now were all born out on the hill on an outdoor system, so ringing within that 7-day legal period is very impractical, almost impossible realistically. So the options that they had for these lambs bringing them in today was ringing with anaesthetic, using a Badizzo, or what they've chosen today, which is ClipFitter clips. So we had to look at the different sizes that were available. So we have a mini, a midi and a maxi, small, medium and large really. So the small is really targeted at the lambs that are only a couple of days old. Midi is really a week plus, and the maxi is for those more mature lambs like these. There's a few things you need to consider when picking the size of clip. The breed is very important, so obviously the blackies that we've got here today have got quite a large purse, lots of wool, and definitely suitable for the larger clip. And you really just have to look at what's available and the size of lambs as you're bringing them in the breed, and use your judgment and the guidance that are available on the website, I would say. So when applying the clips, there's a multitude of ways to restrain the lamb. Really, it mimics how you would use a ring, as most people are familiar with. You can do that between your legs. If you're just a solo applicator, or you've got multiple people putting the clips on at the same time. There's a number of different shoots. What's quite popular is just popping the lamb and resting it on the edge of a hurdle, which we did a lot of today. And it's probably my preferred method if I have a second person helping me, having that lamb just up on the edge of the hurdle gives you a bit of space, and you're not having to worry about the restraining of the lamb, but all work perfectly well and have been quite effective today. So we're going to castrate one of these, the blackie lambs. I've chosen the largest size, the maxi bio clip for this one, so I'm going to pop that into the applicator. We've got the double maxi applicator there, and there you go in. So first things first, we just want to make sure that we've got both of the balls there, both testicles are in the sack, and nothing's distended. The applicator's going in. Again, we've allowed the spring just to hold both of those testicles there. And we're just checking behind, making sure that we haven't caught any bits of flesh. Tucking that behind. Good. Confident squeeze, they've both locked together. You see the lamb has a quick reaction just as they close. We're holding that there for a couple of seconds just to make sure the applicator's worked and the clip's in the right place. Release that, and we're just making sure everything's perfect. We've not caught any bits of skin or anything. In an orientation that isn't going to rub, you can see there's not going to be any issues with it rubbing on the inside of the lamb's leg, and it should be able to be popped down, and there'll be no adverse reaction from that. I would say once you've got the hang of applying the clips, which in most cases take 3 or 4 lambs, for people just to get used to the applicator and how to do that, it's as quick, if not quicker. And actually one of the staff here today was saying that with myself applying the clips, who's been doing it for quite some time, it was quicker than the rings in certain batches of lambs. So I would say overall it's as quick, if not quicker. So the clip comes in two parts. You apply them into the applicator itself, just making sure the male and the female parts of the clip are orientated correctly. Your lamb is then restrained in whichever way you've chosen. You're then sliding the applicator in like a pair of scissors. I've sort of described in the past coming through as like a helicopter or an aeroplane. An aeroplane is what you're looking for. And you're just making sure that the scrotum is pushed right to the end of the clip itself, leaving a gap for when the squish happens. There's a bit for the skin to move into, and just confidently holding on to that applicator, making sure it's applied correctly, and then releasing it and the lamb itself. It's very, very straightforward once it's done 1 and 2. The welfare of the lambs when using another method other than just a single ring is really, really obvious, and it's quite obvious with the lambs behind us. There's no wriggling around, they're not struggling with pain or the restriction of the nerve at all. The clip itself, it severs the nerve immediately, so you haven't got that prolonged period of pain where they're in discomfort. You know, they're just looking for their mums and getting on with life. The same as if you were using an anaesthetic. That initial pain of the ring is removed, and I think it's really the only way to move forward. So we're here today to castrate the tup lambs, and the reason we've decided to use clips is because the team here used them at an early stage of lambing when they were 1 or 2 days old, and really saw the benefits of the welfare of the lambs themselves. There was no pain after the clip had been applied. There was no problems with mismothering. The lambs were very comfortable. The tails themselves, when we were tail docking also at that stage, the tails came off within a couple of days with a very, very clean wound. And same with the testicles, they came off a lot quicker than when using a ring, and again the wound was very, very clean. Generally they found it very easy and very straightforward to use, so when the option came to castrate these particular older lambs, it would seem to be a bit of a no-brainer to use the clips again and benefit the same way as they did earlier on for the early lambers. So in these particular hill lambs, they've only been castrated and not tail docked, as the environment they're in when they return back to the hill is a little bit more hostile, shall we say, and they can be a bit more susceptible to cold and the wind. So the tail just leaves them a little bit of extra protection, which is different in the lowland flocks where you're wanting to castrate and tail dock, and the tail docking is just to keep them clean and avoid things like fly strike and mitigate any problems that way. But these hill lambs, it's better for their welfare to leave the tails on and just give them that extra little bit of protection. I think one of the things that really shows the welfare benefits of the system that we've used today and the clip is really behind me, not by what I'm saying, but what you can see. And there's all the lambs are mothered up very nicely. There's no signs of any discomfort or stress. Everything seems to be quite comfortable and happy. And that's really, as a shepherd and a farmer, what you want to see from your animals after what we've just done today.
Today we're at Jonny Stewart's farm just near Drummoke at Banchory. Jonny was one of 4 Monitor Farm Management Group members who in the winter of 24-25 we looked at their forage crops. We had an innovation project through Monitor Farm Scotland that was really looking at the challenges of winter. 23-24 was extremely wet and really quite challenging for outwintering systems. So we looked at 10 crops over 4 different farms this winter, 24-25, and we followed them throughout the growing season. We looked at the inputs, we looked at their yields, and then we analysed them to understand the nutrition of the crops as well. The data that we've got from that has really shown there's a massive difference in the cost to establish these crops. The cheapest crop came out as the deferred grazing. The most expensive crop to establish was fodder beet. But then when we looked at the number of animals stocked and the cost per kilo of dry matter, the cost per megajoule of energy and the cost of protein, then it almost flipped on its head. If we looked at the livestock units, the fodder beet here with Jonny, he was stocking at 16.88 livestock units per hectare, whereas the stubble neeps, it came out as a really cheap crop to establish, was only 2.4 livestock units per hectare. So really it showed us from the data, we got a good feel of the cost to establish these different forage crops, but it was also quite clear that if you've got a scope and you've got plenty of land, then the lower stocking density type crops definitely suit those systems, whereas the likes of Jonny, who has got limited resources, he doesn't have the buildings and his land, for the amount of stock he's got to get them off the grass. So the likes of the fodder beet and the neeps that are yielding really, really high, then it fits really well in for those winters as well. We've had a really mild winter, so we've not had the challenges that we were semi-hoping to see from 23-24, to just understand how people have dealt with the different scenarios. But because of the good grazing season we've had, these crops have shown the huge potential that they have got here in Scotland.
We currently run, try and keep a herd of 260 suckler cows. There's 300 breeding sheep, and then we'd have just shy of 1,000 acres of crop, a mixture of contract farm, seasonal lets, and everything in between. We grow wheat, barley, winter barley, oilseed rape, mixture of forage crops for the cattle in the winter and for finishing lambs on as well. We're quite limited with stocking, you would say. A lot of the cows are outwintered for a cost purpose as well, and just for the lack of sheds really. Same with the cereal side. A lot of stuff stored off farm or sold at harvest. Currently, at home, we'd only have a 200-acre block of owned land at home, and everything else is out with a lot of seasonal stuff. So it's quite hard to build a lot of infrastructure on limited acres, really. We're in a field of fodder beet here. This will be for suckler cows. All the cows are now spring calving as well. That's just more for management and for housing space as well, to be honest. So the cows will come onto here early November after they've been scanned, and they'll come back out. So this is our 6-acre here. There's also a 5-acre block of neeps just sown across the road, and then we'd probably put in another, it's actually more this year, I think there's about 20 to 25 acre of other neeps in forage for the ewes. Because they're the same way with the ewes, there's such limited grass, the ewes have got to come off grass and really go into forage crops through the winter. In the past I've grown this all fodder beet, and we have struggled to get a big crop. The potential's huge with fodder beet, but it's just getting everything to tick the right box. So in those last few years we've grown neeps as well as a sideline, but it's not a sideline, just as a backup. If one's not going, hopefully the other will be fine. So last year we did costings on them both, and the fodder beet was much better. And this year there's half and half again with neeps and fodder beet. But if the fodder beet does well again this year, I think we'll just go for all beet. It's just more so for club route. Obviously with the neeps you've got to rotate round the field and just watch yourself that way. But yeah, that's the main drive with us, because we're limited with the fields. If I can go at fodder beet and after fodder beet, if the wee dip of yield, yeah, that's fine. But we're not hitting club route issues and such like. We're quite limited for our wintering places as well. There's 2 fields here. There's a 45-acre block here. It's all batch 2 cows, and the land's really dry, sandy loam here. So we'll outwinter 2 batches here, and basically this is the 2 fields that'll be outwintered most years. So we just work a rotation of spring barley and then a forage crop, and then once the spring barley will whilst sow cover crop in like a fast growing forage to structure the cows before they go on to the main crops. I've seen myself walk through the crop and just sprinkle on seeds pre-harvest to try and get an earlier germination to start. The challenges would be in the winter, the weather would be the main factor. Obviously we've had really wet winters, and last year was a really nice dry one. Things we've kind of changed in the past. We've took more forage into the fields. We'll just fence off a little bit and then fill the trailers in the field to save taking dubs and that out. Wetness isn't really a problem. It's going to be wet for a few days, and you're always moving the fence, so you're getting out your wet bits really. And the land's really dry here, so it does. Amazing how it comes back so quickly. It's more the cold, kind of if it's really hard, frosty weather, and everything freezes over. I've seen us come out, we'll just make bedded areas in the stubbles, we'll just put a heap of bales out, come down with a bedder and bed an outside corral, you would say, and then you just clear it in the spring, just put in a muck spreader and clear. It just gives them somewhere to lie, because it is pretty cold if everything's frozen. And yeah, the weather, just you get what you take, isn't it? But it's not too. I don't find it an issue. It's not too bad. You just need to manage it the best you can. The soils we have here, this 2 fields are really sandy loam. So if you went under that brae, you would just find sand. So they're good for that. But just the problems we find is getting the crops established is our main difficulty. The fodder beet, getting the clay ball broken down. That's why this stuff's been in really early, just to make sure we get enough moisture to get it going. And as I said, if it comes wet, yeah, it does get wet, but it dries in about a week's time, and you're always moving forward, or you're moving feeder skin, so you do works away quite well. This crop here would have been established about the 12th of April. I do like to get the fodder beet in really sharp, just for it to have time to germinate, because I do find it comes through a mixed germination. I don't know if that's a soil type or the seed. So this stuff would have been ploughed, power harrowed, rolled, and then we would have sown it just with our conventional horse drill. We don't block any cooters off, we just sow it normally. And then I wasn't going to roll it after for compaction, but we did this year because it was so dry. I was just wanting to get as much moisture cover as we could. And then it would have got a pre-em. I don't think it's worked too well with the drought. And then it just had a weed spray last week. And that's kind of where we're up to now. So we'll start grazing this crop would be from November onwards. Probably we'll come off all the seasonal lets November, so by the time it comes to the end of November, they'll probably be down here after they're scanned in and out. And then, but we'll probably transition on to some forage crop first. As I say, we'll sow it into the stubbles just to get them transitioned onto it. And this will do them right through to maybe the end of February. They start calving start of February, so we'll just run it to as long as we can, and then just basically need to swap round at home. We'll sell some stores and move cattle around, and then get them all up in for calving really. Pre-calving, they'll actually be running out here. We'll have the odd calves actually pop out here sometimes. So they'll be out as long as they can really, and just be in for a week. We will transition them onto silage or on like the fortnight before, just to get their diet swung around, because they will come in on to silage ration. But yeah, we'll keep them out basically as long as we can. We'll try and monitor the cows through the winter to get their condition score kind of correct for calving, so we can move it. It's great with the fence, you can just give them more or less, and you can see it coming off them, and they'll come in and they'll be fit and agile, and we wouldn't really have a lot of problems calving, touch wood. That's a lot going to the Charlie sire as well. And I think this calving pass, I think we only had one section out of them all, and yeah, we'll have to assist a few, but it's pretty good. And I mean, outside on a nice day, it's the best place for them, and they just love it. And it also, from us, the logistics and the infrastructure we'd need for the 200 would be phenomenal. The amount of straw, it would just be eye-watering, to be honest, in my head. And I don't really like feeding cows inside either, to a point. And also the benefits outside, there's very little feeding required. Yes, we'll fill barrier trailers twice a week, but just one tractor and that's it. And then somebody will come down and move the fence. So it's pretty for machinery wise. You're quite you've hardly any really, to be honest. So it's great that way as well. Not all the cows will come down, so basically 200 will come down, and we'll keep in leaner cows, and older cows really, they'll stay, and then the fitter cows come down, and we can manage them that way. And then through the winter we'll just keep an eye on them and just kind of suit their diet to what they need. And then pre-calving, they'll come up, get bolused, and they've always been cautious in the past about colostrum quality, just because we're on a lot of root crops. But we'll normally, if we're helping a cow or assisting a cow, we'll sample the colostrum per cow. And the year past, yeah, it's been really, really good colostrum. We do quite a lot of blood testing as well, just to monitor them. for their iodine level, because we are low in iodine in this area. This winter, and the cows outside have been great. They've come in good fettle and condition. Calving's been pretty good this year. There's some calves outside, and they've all got on with it really well. To be honest, Clostrum's been really good, and they've all got off to a great start. And yeah, they're off to a good start for 2025. And yeah, as long as the crops will come up, because this is our main winter feed, so hopefully everything will grow and yeah, enjoy the sunshine, and a few showers won't go amiss. We couldn't really farm in such a scale without this outwintering process. It just is that the infrastructure required for the cows, and us being so limited with ground. Yeah, it's a lot of seasonal nets, but we're off in the winter. Where do you put the cows in the winter? You got to feed them every day. So this is a great system for, and a really cheap system, I think, for taking them through the winter. Some folk don't like it. It's a bit of extra work. Yeah, you got to be out in all weathers. But yeah, the cows love it, and yeah, it's a good way of doing it. And yeah, it's back to basically basics. We'd have to maybe sell the calves weaned, otherwise to house them. And I don't like housing them, to be honest, because it's just a cost factor, and just the labour involved and what you need. It's really expensive.